There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And tonight I'd like to do a cartomancy reading for you. Okay. I know it's been a while since I've done tarot card readings, modern day lingo, when in fact, cartomancy goes all the way back to the 11th century. Okay. For those of you who don't know, it's kind of like the Angelus prayer. Goes all the way back to the 11th century. There's a lot that goes back, long, long time before modern day terminologies. So, but anyways, earlier tonight I was doing a cartomancy read for a client, and ended up getting into a lot of detail. So there's still more that I need to get into on that one, even though I'm meeting with them tomorrow in a phone conference. So, but tonight, since I've got most of it done already, I figured, take a break, do a little cartomancy for the masses. Because it has been, hell, I don't even know, probably a couple of months since I did the last one. And about a year before that, I did another one. So yeah, I'd actually like to do these more often. And with my new job, I'm able to. So that'll be pretty good. So, alrighty. So, anyways, your first card is the Tower. Okay. For those of you who do not know, the Tower card is basically one of those ones that is based off both destruction and creation. So when it comes to the Tower card, the one thing you got to remember is that it's always easiest to destroy than it is to create. So when you get a this card, when you get this card in a reading, what it basically is telling you is that there's something in your world that you need to destroy before you can create it new. Okay. So when we're thinking about this, it could be the fact that you're looking for that new job and you need to demolish something from your current job or past employment that is preventing you from getting that new job that you desire. Okay. Sometimes it's just a matter of saying, you know what, here's my 2 weeks, done. Okay. Guess what? I'm here for an interview. I'd like to fill out an application, you know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you really got to dig down deep and get the courage to leave behind something that is hindering you. Okay. That is literally hindering you. You got to leave it behind to create something new. If you're in a relationship that is toxic and you want a healthy relationship, guess what? Same thing applies. Okay. If you're looking for a better apartment, a home, you got to give up something. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those things you got to destroy to create. So your second card is the Five of Skulls. The Five of Skulls is a very interesting card, namely because of the fact that it deals with, how should I say this? It deals more with emotion. So you have knives, which is physical. You have um, scepters, which is magical. You have the grails, which is like the grail of life and death. So, I mean, the skulls is more emotional content right there. And a lot of times when you get the Five of Grails, you're looking at it from a Mercury perception. You may even see it within the circle. Within a, let's look at it from a zodiac perspective. In Mercury, you have the circle with the two lines that go out. Okay, or you have the circle with the cross going down, symbolizing the feminine energy. But wait for it, it's also got those lines going up, those two lines going up, okay, which indicate nocturnal, demonic, maybe, okay. But if we look at Mercury in itself, Mercury is the softest metal, okay, but it's where all other metals are created, especially when you get into alchemy. So you remember what I said about the Tower card? This is basically taking it one step further, or you can go a bunch of steps depending on what you're willing to do to achieve your goals. Okay? When we're looking at the Five of Skulls, knowing that it's about emotion, that it's about forging something that will last. Okay? The biggest thing that you need to remember here is that you want to start at the base, a strong foundation to build upon a greater success. If you're looking for that relationship, maybe it's time for you to cut loose that anchor, jump all in, stop holding yourself back. Perhaps it's time to delve deeper into the more healthy side of emotion, feelings, okay? Or perhaps it's about letting go. Maybe it's psychological. Maybe it's that day-to-day afflictions that's weighing you down. If you've been stuck in the same job for 14 years and you've gone between stores, maybe you've dealt with so many people over a 4-year, you know, span that dealing with people's arrogance, their toxic atmosphere, okay? It's just like having a dagger in the gut. Okay? Just like those physical wounds, but in this case, it's psychological, it's emotional. It's enough that it weighs you down. And eventually, you're going to have to deal with this. Okay? Eventually, you're going to have to deal with that. And in this case, you want to look at the grave. Okay? You want to look at that internal grave. Namely, because of the fact that you have a lot of toxic. I'm not saying you in general, it could be you, it could be someone else. You got to look at what you're dealing with, okay, within your own personal life. It could also be a hostile coworker. People could be talking smack behind your back. They could be sabotaging your advancement to benefit themselves. I was talking with an apprentice of mine earlier, and I just did a reply to him on Messenger, and it was interesting because of the fact that it was something that he said about it was about baneful sorcery, it was about the journey or descent into the underworld. Okay, going into that spiritualism. Now if we take this analogy, baneful sorcery is broken down into bindings, domination, and curses. Okay? If you're into Satanism, witchcraft, you're looking at lust, Okay. Either way you look at it, these three rituals can be broken down into roughly about dozens of others. Okay. Think of your situation the same exact way. You could be focusing on, say, let's say 11 things out of 12 things. Okay. 11 things you're focusing so hard upon that you think it's going good, but something's just dragging you down. It is that one topic that you're afraid to look at. It could be something that you're not prepared or ready to look at. Either way you look at it, you got to deal with it. Okay. I believe it was Christopher Penziak in his book, The Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft, where he said that we normally deal with things on a day to day basis that we either want to deal with or we don't. And if we don't, we tend to move it to what he referred to as the shadow aspect of the brain, right back here. Okay. So, what happens if you don't deal with that? Number one, you're going to have explosive attitude. Number two, you're probably going to end up with depression. Okay. Number three, it could affect you in a lot of different areas. Okay. So you really want to figure out what that is that's weighing you down and deal with it. Okay. Like I said, it's not just relationships, it's not just jobs. There's a whole wide range of topics that I could get into just with this card alone. Okay. So let's go on to the third card. The third card is the Six of Grails. Okay. The Six of Grails is one of those cards that deals with life and death. Okay. In this case, you're dealing with a mamba. Okay. For those of you who don't know what a mamba is, you're dealing with these types of snakes come from Australia, okay? Or even Africa, okay? These are very, very venomous snakes. And there's a wide selection of them. There's a green mamba, black mamba, you know, coppermouth, there's a lot of different categories within this area, okay? But the point is that this color is green, okay, which means green mamba. These are the types that like to hide in trees, okay? And while you're picking those apples or the fruit from the trees, all of a sudden you're doing good, you're filling your basket, and guess what? Chomp. You've been infected with venom, okay? How many of you get on social media a lot? How many of you tend to deal with customer service? Okay. Those of you who get into customer service, you know what I'm talking about when I say it's a very toxic atmosphere. Okay. There's so much pressure, there's negativity. You're dealing with attitudes from the customers, you're dealing with coworkers' attitudes, you're dealing probably with a short-handed, crew. Okay. To the point where you're caught between the customers and your management, even. That duality that just hits you like a freaking ton of bricks. Okay. But if you're dealing with online community, you know, let's say social media, prime example, how many people do you socialize with on a day to day basis? Think of the venom of these individuals with their disbelief, or, say, for an example, their whining. You know, it tends to get to you from every so often. Either way you look at it, think of it as venom going into your bloodstream, your cardiovascular tissues, muscles, nervous system, the blood. You most likely are going to spit the blood out. You're going to probably end up spitting venom yourself. You get into a Facebook group that says no bullying allowed. But yet, as soon as you post something, you get gangbanged. And as soon as you defend yourself, either Facebook or the admins boot your ass out. You know what I'm saying? This shit happens. It's the same thing with everything that we're dealing with here. The theme here is quite simplistic. It's right out in the open. You got to destroy to create. You got to deal with those anchors that are holding you back within your particular issue. And second of all, you got to look out for betrayers. You got to look out for those negative atmospheric locations. And to be strong, you must become the predator. Think of it as utilizing baneful sorcery for personal gain. Like I said, I was talking with an apprentice of mine. Okay, sometimes you have to do baneful sorcery to rid yourself of opposition. Look at it this way: if you got three people running for the same position, you got management doing their own thing, creating duality. If coworkers aren't helping you, so the best thing you can do is put forth spirits, utilize your gifts, your magic. Here, let's look at it this way: domination spell. Okay, number one, you're going to bind your enemy, your opponents, prevent them from taking those extra steps. Second of all, you're going to dominate them to the point where through the effigies, through the voodoo dolls or Christmas bags, whatever you can get your hands on, choice is yours. You dominate your opponents so much, or opponents, that they literally either quit their job, back off, become depressed themselves, or just end up showing their true colors to everyone. You may even teach the company a lesson, even. I've had to do that. I've had a team lead look at me and beg me never to curse their store again. Why? Because they did wrong. Baneful sorcery is literally taking an injustice and putting it right. That means making an injustice into justice. Okay? Working with a serpent, the adversarial current, is the same exact thing. The enlightening factor. Therefore, use what you know to benefit you. Okay? All you have to do is remember three things. One, look at what you want. Look at what you're trying to accomplish. Destroy or eliminate the obstacles that are holding you back. Second of all, tend to those afflictions to be able to move forward. Sometimes you can even utilize those afflictions to benefit you, not only in your sorcery, but also in your day to day lives to aid you in your communication, your personal journey into either work, relationships, or whatever. Okay. And then three, be the alpha, either male or female, it does not matter. Dominate, lead by example, and do what you need to do to survive. The world is a very, very harsh and cruel place. Become the animal, cold blooded as it may be. A serpent can be your best friend, or it could be the worst enemy you ever meet. You consider people own snakes worldwide. Worldwide. They keep them as pets. But they know that a hungry animal can be quite deadly. That's why they have a specific box for them for feeding. Think of the world as your pen, and they're the food right there. Do with it as you will. There's a reason why Aleister Crowley was known as the Beast 666, the wickedest man alive. He did not care who stood in his way. He did what was necessary. Question is, are you willing to step up and do the same? Okay? So, with that said, hope this helps you over the next week. I'll come back next Tuesday, or let's see, today's Monday actually. So, next Monday I'll come back on and I will do another reading. All right? I want to thank Starseed Root Witch. Welcome to the channel again. That's a good thing. That means the spirits are talking. Okay. Well, I want you to look at something. I want you to take a good look at this card. Do you notice how the serpent is going over her left shoulder? Okay. With this one here, notice the hellhound sitting over the individual. Okay. But most importantly, I want you to take a look at this one. The castle burning in the background. You have somebody that you can't see. You don't know who's doing it. Then you may want to do a binding spell. Okay. There is a number of different spells that I can think of that you could put forth. For an example, a jinx or a hex. Two low-key type spells, one of which grants people bad luck. That's the jinx. The other one is a hex. Think of it more as a teaching tool. Okay? So you don't know who is bad mouthing you behind your back. You don't know who is literally undermining what you're trying to do. Okay? The best thing for you to do is to utilize an effigy. You don't need an actual photo. You don't need an actual item like a lock of hair, something that they've half eaten, or something that has their saliva or DNA on. In this case, I would recommend just utilizing seals. Okay. Seals of reversal, seals of protection, seals of arbitration. Okay. But also seals of cloaking. Okay. The reason for this is because of the fact that you want your movements to be invisible to your enemies. You want all attacks to be reversed. Everything that they've done so far, you want to abolish them, completely neutralizing them. And then you want to put up protections to, warnings of protection to protect yourself for future attacks. In this case, you could do all this with metals and gems, create talismans, various different types of phylacteries. I would say an amulet. I mean, if you look at the amulet, it's a form of protection. Okay. A talisman is something that you can hang, carry. Okay. You could easily put some of these up around your office, your cubicle, you know, around your workspace. If you're really good, you could even put some of these things in a black Christmas bag. You can insert them in certain intervals throughout the workplace, the home. If there's a locker, let's say for example, a locker area within, the employee room, break room. You could always place it behind there, or someplace where people aren't going to look or get to very easily. They'd actually have to work to get to it. Okay. And if you could really do it without anybody knowing, even the better. Okay. I've done this, and it's taken roughly about 3 to 4 years, costing that company hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, you're looking at, say, a company that's worth $7 million dropping 10 mil. I'm talking dropping roughly from 10 million, 7 million down to roughly about 7,000. Okay. Loss of staff. Can't employ anybody. Running on a skeletal crew. This is stuff that can be done with simple phylacteries, warnings, and seals. But you got to put your intent behind it. Okay. Now, like I said, it doesn't matter who it is, because these things are going to ward them off. They're going to prevent them from moving. Now, I would also recommend utilizing chicken feet. Okay. Chicken feet put in a, let's say, a handmade coffin. Okay. You can bury it in a cemetery, out in the, crossroads, or out in the woods, someplace over a mile away from your office or home, with the intention of where you need that located. Okay. You can even place your opponent's photos in there if you know how to do it discreetly. You can utilize items that they've touched or owned, place them in there, and just say, I don't know which one you know, is trying to hinder me, but I need it to stop. My intent is this. Bury the fucking thing. Okay? It will literally stop them dead in their tracks. So yeah, there's a lot that you can do. Bindings, on the other hand, is if you know who's doing it. And if you can find out who's doing it, one of the tricks that, you know, I recommend is tell everybody a different story. Wait a few days. If it comes back to you, you know who's the betrayer. Okay? And then you can deal with them. Bindings, curses. I recommend stepping it up and bring it literally into a curse. That way you can literally teach that individual a lesson, but also teach the company for believing that individual. There's a lot that you can do. All right. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this reading. I hope it helped a lot. And if you want a consultation, I charge $150 for an hour's time. That includes all the questions surrounding the reading and the issues at hand. So, with that said, like, don't like, it's up to you. Have a good night, and until next time.